Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we are going to be talking about some alternative games that might help scratch that itch if you are a lover of Star Wars Armada, fleet combat, sci-fi gaming, and you want some big fleet-based games that might help relieve some of the pressure, because frankly a lot of us here who have been watching and been playing Star Wars Armada for a long time, if you're one of those people and you're looking for something new, or if you're a new player who has barely gotten into Armada, or you've never played before but you've heard good things and you're just looking for something similar to that, or if you're a veteran player that is looking for a new game after the drop of games like X-Wing and Armada, then this hopefully will offer you some interesting alternatives. And we're going to talk about that in today's video. If you guys are new here to the channel, we do talk an awful lot about fleet games, tabletop games, starship games, and of course Star Wars. I'd love to have you stick around. We're still doing a round of the $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. There's still time left to enter to win this round, but we're going to be doing another one immediately after. All you have to do to enter to win that is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. Let me know what games you like that kind of help you fill that fleet based game. And of course, it doesn't mean you have to stop playing Star Wars Armada. I know I'm not going to stop playing it, but for everybody else that is looking for something else, maybe to replace or to even supplement your gaming, this is a list for you. With all that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the first game I want to talk about. It's not necessarily starships, but it does have ships. We're talking about Leviathans, the Great War. These are airships. Think steampunk airships, pre-painted miniatures, a lot of the stuff that you have already kind of sort of gotten with Star Wars Armada, with some extra bits like a hex-based board with hex bases. And this is by Catalyst Games. They've been supporting, Mech Warrior for a long time. BattleTech, I should say, not Mech Warrior, but shows you how much BattleTech I play. Very little. But yeah, it's got dice, it's got strategy, it's got movement, it's got fleets, it's got different factions. It also has like the laminated ship cards that you'll use a dry erase marker to sort of mark off your damage and things like that. Things that BattleTech players will be familiar with. And if that's not up your alley, that's okay. We have more games to talk about. But if you're interested in this, it's pretty cool. I actually considered pledging for this one. I didn't quite do it, but this one went to crowdfunding. It's still like a newer game too, and that's great because there's a lot of incentive to play games when they're newer. It's a fun thing. I got to see some of these ships out at Adepticon. I thought they looked good. Now, granted, they're not going to look quite as good as your Star Wars Armada ships and your Star Wars X-Wing ships and stuff. There was a level of quality there that was a little higher up, but they're still not bad looking. And again, if you want to be able to play something straight out of the box, there's an advantage for pre-painted ships as well. So check out Leviathans, the Great War. Next up, you've heard me talk about Drop Fleet Commander before, so this should be no surprise that I would include a game like that on a list like this. Drop Fleet Commander is an amazing fleet versus fleet game where you have much larger fleets. This is probably one of the most comprehensive Armada replacement games that you might be able to find. It is really the only drawback I have for it is that nobody around me is playing it, so I still have never played a full game of it. But I have played some sample games. We've started to learn the rules a little bit, and I definitely saw enough to make me think, wow, this game is very cool. It's got things like groups of ships where you can act with one activation. You might move 3 or 4 ships all at once. That allows you to have much larger fleets that don't take all day to play. Star Wars Armada always felt more like you were actually flying a flotilla, a very small group. If you're flying 4 ships, is that really an Armada? Really? And so if you're a fan of that game, but you wanted to push things up, if you like more 600-point formats or things where you can get more ships on the board, this might be the game for you. It is a little bit rules heavy. It's not the easiest game in the world to learn, and it plays, instead of in deep space, it more is about atmospheric combat because you're dropping drop troops and you're dropping. It's called Drop Fleet Commander. You've got drop ships that are dropping off troops that want to go secure facilities, and that's kind of what you're fighting over. You're fighting over resources, planetary resources, and you're usually in low atmosphere as well, hence the map here showing kind of cities below. And so it's a little bit of a different feel when you think about the setting, but is that really that different than fighting over objectives near an asteroid or whatever that you would do in Armada? Maybe it's not. It's all about where it sits in your mind. So think about that. Drop Fleet Commander is a very cool game. There's different factions. They just came out with a second edition. There's a new starter that's out there. We've looked at that. We've done some building of ships. We've done some painting of ships. We've looked at Drop Fleet Commander a little bit. Cool game. It's one of those games I wish I could play more often. So if you move to Orlando and you happen to live right next door to me and we become best friends, I might invite you over. We have to become best friends first. So I don't know how that works. I don't know how we jump from point A to point X, but there's a whole lot of letters in between there. But if it happens, wouldn't that be cool? I'm getting all over the place here. Let's move on to the next game. This one is one that's not coming out for a while. This is called Starside and the Promethean Crusade. It's a whole a new IP from Archon, and they're also making StarCraft, and they've made a lot of really cool games, great miniatures, great terrain, great scenery, great all kinds of cool stuff. They've done a lot of Dungeons and Dragons stuff. They have some really great plastic materials. A lot of the companies out of Poland are just hitting home runs with all of the amazing content they're producing. You've seen me look at games from like Awaken Realms. You've seen me look at we're looking at Tekken, the board game, from Go On Board here very, very soon. Beautiful quality stuff. And Starside is going to be coming from Archon, which has also amazing quality stuff. I feel like there's like a new board game renaissance going on and tabletop gaming renaissance going on in Poland right now, and it's really cool. So with all that being said, let's talk a little bit about Starside. So this is going to be a fleet-based game. At Adepticon, I was able to talk with the folks at Archon, and we got a little more insight into this. Now, emails have gone out. If you're already following this on GameFound, this is going to come straight to GameFound. There's 4 different factions, and they've given kind of primers for these different factions. They each have different spaceships, different styles, and different kind of play styles. And they talked a little bit about them as like, here's our first one. These guys are well-rounded, and one of the things that makes them unique outside of just being well-rounded is they have like the best missiles. They have really good missiles. Then there's another ones that's like, okay, these guys, they don't have as great of missiles, right? But they have really good guns, like kinetic guns, and they're and they don't have as much maneuverability, but they have really good armor. So they're a little bit slower, and they're kind of gonna tank the damage and just try to shoot you back and try to just brawl you down. Then they talk about another faction that's more maneuverable and has lasers, and so and I don't know necessarily the specialties of all of those, but I love the way that they were written. It sounds like they're gonna have, and then there's a third, like a fourth faction that that like their primary focus is dealing with objectives, and so they're not necessarily quite as good in a firefight, but they're better at trying to win the game through like stealth and things like that. And I was like, what a cool. I don't know if stealth was what the word that they used, but through tactics, I think was actually the word. Very cool stuff. And if you look at these images and the early promo materials that are coming out for Starside, it looks an awful lot like Armada. We've got big rectangular bases. We've got smaller, like little squadron things, in a world that has this wide open void that both X-Wing and Armada have kind of left. It's a great time for something like this to be coming out. Now, when I was talking to some of the folks at Archon, a lot of our discussions centered around StarCraft, the miniatures game, which is coming out soon also. Definitely excited about that, but that's a ground game, and that's a little bit going to appeal a little bit more to your maybe your Star Wars Legion folks and your Star Wars and your Warhammer and stuff like that. But for Starside, we talked a little bit, and this is still very much in the design phase. And some of these designs that we're looking at aren't final. They're also looking at using hex-based bases for these that would be larger or smaller depending on the size of the ship and the shape of the ship. For example, a triangular ship might have hex pattern that is a little bit more triangular, and so they can make sure that the base of the ship reflects the actual dimensions and the size of the ship. Larger ships would have more hexes, and these hexes would be hollowed out so that you can put hex-based tokens inside the bases, and maybe shields. Oh, they have this many shields and this many power tokens or ammo tokens or various tokens that would have meaning in game that you'll actually be able to see nesting inside the base of each one of these ships. How cool is that. I think it's very, very cool. They're looking at a hex board, so maybe if similar to like a game like Leviathans Great War, it may play similar to that. Again, there's a whole lot more that we don't know about this game than we do know, but it looks very promising, and the ship designs all look very cool and very different and distinct. And also, this is an all-new universe. If you really like games like this, but you hate getting stuck with like licensing and, oh, we can't do anything because we really need a big ship on this faction, but there is no big ship in the lore. Well, now they can just make one because, boom, there it goes. You know, it's like one of the problems I think Armada was running into, like with the Clone Wars, is that, like, okay, how many more ships do the Separatists have? There's not that many more that we can make, you know, not that many more. There's some more, but not that many more. And, you know, like, it would have been hard to catch some of the Clone Wars factions up to the Galactic Civil War. I mean, the Republic had almost all of its ships out there already. There wasn't a whole lot more that they could do for the Republic unless they wanted to get into like really deep legends and expanded universe stuff. And so when you're creating your own lore, then you can just make whatever you need. And I think that's a really cool thing too. So I'm excited for Starside. I can't wait for that. And hopefully as new information comes out, we'll be bringing it to you. So stay tuned for that. Coming up next is a little bit more on the board game side, but definitely can still help scratch that itch. It's Star Wars Rebellion. In my opinion, the greatest two-player board game of all time. This one came from Fantasy Flight Games. There is also an expansion of this, The Rise of the Empire. Definitely, I'm going to talk about it kind of, you know, with both halves, both this and the expansion, because you kind of have to have the expansion. Now, this is an amazing game. If you are an Armada player that want to go beyond the 400 point and you want to go into sector fleet, and maybe you played 600 point, maybe that wasn't enough, maybe you want to go above that, you know, 800, 1000, you want really big battles, this is the game for you. If you want big theater sized battles. Now, Rebellion is a little bit more about the tactics of trying to find the rebel base as the Imperial player, or trying to, you know, do little jobs and generate sympathy and earn victory points before the Empire finds the rebel base and snuffs you out, win the population over your side. So there's the whole strategy that goes into it. But when the combat is concerned, Rebellion really does a great job of showing a huge perspective where maybe multiple battles will be going on at the same time. Maybe there's a big fleet massing near Sullust, right? Or maybe they're massing near Endor or Mustafar or Mon Cala, right? And maybe they're a distraction because you have to send your super Star Destroyer and a whole bunch of Star Destroyers and a whole bunch of Gazantis and a whole bunch of TIE Fighters and this huge battle. You're going to have a massive battle. Death Stars are in this game, all right? And maybe you're going to be doing all of this battle. Well, the rebel base is actually in the whole different. It's over on Hoth and all in the different corner of the world or of the galaxy, and and maybe there's a smaller battle happening over there. So it's got dice. It's got, and it doesn't have defense dice too. That's another thing that makes it a little bit similar to Armada. Like when you roll damage, that's how much damage you're going to inflict. There is some damage reduction that can potentially happen, or if there's healing that can potentially happen, and then there's cards. And the thing is, the cards that everybody has is public knowledge. You just don't know which card they're going to play this turn, and then once they've played it, they can no longer play it until they refresh their hand. So there's some foregone conclusions. There's definitely decisions that go into it, and it's got great combat. Again, this can help scratch the itch if you want that really big battle, or if you like to run the campaigns of Star Wars Armada. This one also can work into that for you as well. And yes, I know it's a board game, but it's a tremendous one. And I think if you really love Armada, I think there's a lot in here that you can really enjoy. It is a little bit rules heavy. I've done some how to play videos, including both a how to set up the board and then how to actually play, because it's a little bit heavy. And I figured I could break it down into 2 videos. I'm planning on doing some more that talk a little bit about strategy as well. So if you're interested in something like that, hopefully you'll stick around, because I'm looking to do some more Rebellion videos, even though it's a slightly older board game. It's a classic, and it's one of the most brilliant, elegant, and beautiful games of all time. So I think you should definitely check it out. Coming up next is a little different. We're back into a ship-to-ship game, but this one's a little closer to X-Wing, but I still wanted to include it. It's Snapship's Tactics. Now, this one is a dogfighting game at heart. But there's a couple of things that make this one stand apart from X-Wing, and might appeal to some of the Armada players. The players that do like to get into to do maneuvers. You're a little more maneuverable in this one, so if you like to always be navin, which a lot of Armada players do, this might appeal to you. First off, this is a game about control and making choices. You are rolling dice in here. There are obstacles. You're trying to fly around each other. There are firing arcs, but you have an energy system in this game, and you only have so much energy, and every single upgrade card you have down here requires some of that energy. Every gun you have requires energy to shoot. And so you can't fire everything all at once. And if you fire certain things, you also generate heat. If you do too much all at once, you're at risk of overheating, and you might have a couple of turns until you can kind of recharge all of that energy. If you fire all of your guns, you're gonna be out of commission for a little while. So that's a really cool, there's a very, very awesome mechanic when it comes to that. And there's a toy factor in this one, which is also really cool, because while the ships you see here are basically like fighters that kind of look like they're in a dogfighting game, you can also build your ships to be a little bit more like capital ships. You could build a ship that looks like a Nebulon frigate, or a Star Destroyer, or a Corellian corvette. I have built a giant Venator, that I've showcased in some of my videos. Very cool stuff. Now, Snapships Tactics also just had a new set come out. They have a pretty active community. So this is a game that's still under development. It still has new things that are coming out all the time. You should definitely check them out. If you especially if you're like an X-Wing and Armada player, this is something to definitely check out. I think you're going to love it. It's a very, very fun game. And it also plays a little on the quicker side. He only uses a 3x3 board. So it plays a little on the faster side. So definitely check this one out. It's super fun. And we get to, I think, my number one video for this list. You probably could have guessed I was going to talk about this one, because it's one I've been talking about a great deal lately. It's Star Trek Into the Unknown. This one, I mean, if you look at this one, you're instantly going to think, is this Star Trek Armada? Well, it's not, but I think it definitely can scratch some of those itches. Star Trek Into the Unknown is kind of like if you were to make a Star Trek Armada, but also wanted it to be able to do a whole lot more than Armada can do. And that's a blessing and a curse, because it's a blessing because it means you can just, hey, let's just try to blow each other up. Let's just have a fleet battle. Yeah, you can do that. You can do so much more that it makes learning the game and its full capabilities quite a hefty load, because and so what they've done is they've created like this campaign. It's an enjoyable campaign. The campaign system works out really well, but the campaign that comes in the basic starter is designed to teach you how to play the game. Each mission introduces new rules in a slow and gradual way, where you're starting out with very small, a small ship versus another small ship. By the way, ship sizes, very much like Armada. You've got firing arcs in here, just like in Armada. You've got small, medium, and large ships, just like Armada. You've got pre-painted ships, just like Armada. It's Star Trek, not exactly just like Star Wars, but, a lot of us are fans of both franchises. I think everybody has their favorite, though. I think everybody has a favorite. And while this channel does lean a lot more towards Star Wars, because I love Star Wars, there are days where I think that Star Trek is my favorite. It's the difference between science fiction versus science fantasy and all of that. It's maybe the impossible debate, perhaps, which one's really better. I love them both. I love them both for very different reasons, but this one definitely does kind of scratch that Armada itch. It plays differently, but it's not so foreign that you wouldn't be able to figure it out. It's again, I have tutorial videos talking about movement and shooting, which I think are two of the most important things, but there's a whole lot more that I haven't done tutorial videos on yet. They've recently published an FAQ for this one, ironing out some of the rules confusion that's bound to happen during a game's initial release. There's also some good news with this game too, in that if you were in the UK or one of the areas that weren't getting the game, well, all of those distribution issues appear to be clearing up, and more people across the globe are reporting that they're now actually shipping and getting their shipping notices, getting their pre-orders, and getting Star Trek Into the Unknown in their hands finally after a long wait. That's exciting. There's the Rising Tensions Klingon expansion that is also up for pre-order right now. That's going to be shipping this year. looks really exciting as well. And of course, there's a lot of other stuff that has been kind of soft confirmed. You know, there's other factions. Again, everything you see in Star Trek or Deep Space Nine during that time frame is ripe for this game, as well as other stuff too. I mean, if it continues to grow, I'm sure we'll see stuff from like Lower Decks and beyond, maybe original series stuff. Who knows? The sky's the limit. Sky is not actually the limit, isn't it? Maybe the Delta Quadrant is the limit. I don't know. What would you think would be the limit? Warp 10? Maybe not, because the Future Enterprise did Warp 13. I don't know. Every time I think there's a limit, the limits are raised. It's like no limit hold'em, except it's in Star Trek. Anyway, hopefully this would help scratch that itch for you. There's a lot going on here. Very, very fun game. Also, I've got to point out that Star Trek Into the Unknown is being made by WizKids, by a team that consists of folks that used to be in Fantasy Flight Games and bring you games like Armada and X-Wing, and that worked on all of these masterpiece games and helped bring them to life, are now working on this. And they're also applying a lot of those lessons learned as well and future-proofing these games really well. Again, you're going to really like this game if you can get past the kind of steep learning curve, and you can help do that by playing the campaign and starting out small. Don't overload yourself, and you'll eventually get there. It's worth the wait. It's a fun game. And that is going to conclude our list of some alternative games. If you're interested in kind of augmenting or replacing Star Wars Armada, it's up to you. You don't have to stop playing, and you never have to stop. They can't come to your house and take your games away. They're not coming to my house and say, well, actually, no, that's true. People can break into your house and steal your stuff. So let me not put that. Let me wish you good thoughts. Nobody's going to come and take your Armada away. All right. But if you're looking for more stuff to supplement that as well, hopefully you found this to be a healthy and helpful list. That's going to do it for today's video. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. So say we all. And always wash your socks.